to week 2 of our wellness workshops. My name is Haley. I'm a student at Niagara College in the Exercise Science for Health and Performance program. And today we're going to talk about the truth about fiber. So just an overview of kind of what we're going to go through. We're going to talk about what is fiber. We're going to discuss some common myths that you may have heard about before. We're then going to talk about why fiber is important, a fun fact about fiber, what happens to our body when we don't get enough fiber, some helpful tips to increase your fiber content, some foods that will allow you to get more fiber in your body, and then we're going to finish with 2 high fiber recipes that you're more than welcome to take home with you and try. So first, what is fiber? It is a non-digestible carbohydrate found in plant-based foods. There are 2 types, soluble and insoluble. Soluble fiber dissolves in water and helps to slow digestion. Some common examples are oatmeal, lentils, apples, and blueberries. And then insoluble fiber does not dissolve in water. And its main role is to help food to just move through our digestive system. Examples of these are whole wheat bread, brown rice, cucumbers, and tomatoes. We should try to get both types of fiber in our diet just because they help with many different health benefits and help maintain overall good health. So I'm going to go through some 4 different myths, and we're going to kind of debunk these myths as we go along. So the first one is fiber created equal? So the answer to this is actually no. So our quality of fiber is just as important as the quantity. So when you grocery shop, you might be walking down aisles and notice that some cereals or granola bars are saying that they're advertised as high in fiber. This actually tends to not be true. The main reason for this is because they lack a lot of nutrients that you can get from just eating whole foods. So for example, eating an apple is going to have more fiber than eating cereal that's advertised as high in fiber, just because that cereal will contain more sugars in it. Our next one is, as you age, you don't need to consume as much fiber. And the answer to this one is you actually require more fiber with age. The reason because of this, our digestive system is a muscle that helps to transport food through our body. As we age, that muscle is going to become weaker, so you actually need more fiber just to process the food through your body. Our third one, water and fiber intake do not need to be balanced. So this one, without water, fiber actually cannot do its job that it's supposed to do in the body. So fiber uses water to prevent constipation, but it also helps move food more efficiently through our digestive system without placing too much pressure on our intestines. So with this one, if you are increasing your fiber intake and you're not getting enough, you also want to make sure you're getting enough water as well. And then our last one, does fiber lead to weight gain? And the answer for this one is that it actually aids in weight management because it prevents any unusual sugar spikes that you might see with eating something like a simple carbohydrate that will actually cause you to be more hungry. In addition to that, fiber actually doesn't add to our total calorie count when we consume food because we cannot digest it. So now just moving on to why fiber is important, I'm mainly going to just discuss 4 of the main ones. So the first one is that fiber helps to lower our blood cholesterol. So just in terms of what cholesterol is, it is a fat that is found in our body. It's naturally made and it transports through our blood. Our liver is what makes our cholesterol. And our cholesterol does things like it helps to digest food, it helps to make bile salts which digest fat in our body. And it also helps with certain hormones and making things like vitamin D. We have 2 types of cholesterol. We have good and bad cholesterol. So intaking soluble fiber is actually going to help lower our bad cholesterol levels. So the reason why this do this is because, as I mentioned earlier, soluble fiber is going to dissolve in water. That will make the fiber into a gel-like substance that's going to move through our intestines and our digestive tract. As it moves through that digestive tract, it's actually going to pick up any fat or extra cholesterol and excrete that cholesterol through our body instead of it going into our bloodstream. Any extra cholesterol that is left over, our body will then use for helping our body function, so such as making those hormones like I mentioned earlier. The main reason why we don't want cholesterol in our bloodstream is because it will actually go straight to our arteries, which can clog our arteries and cause other health complications. The next one is controlling blood pressure and our blood sugar levels. So in terms of blood sugar, we get our blood sugar levels from the foods that we eat. So for example, if we are eating carbohydrates, our body's going to break down the carbohydrates into sugar that will allow them to circulate through the body. Also, they'll be used for energy. So we have two types of carbohydrates, simple and complex. Simple carbohydrates are going to digest faster than complex carbohydrates, and they're going to allow for shorter lasting levels of energy. Fiber is a source of a complex carbohydrate, and what this means is that because fiber does not digest in the body, it's not going to break down into smaller sugar molecules that you will see with simple carbohydrates. So what soluble fiber will do is it will actually slow the rate of our digestion and breakdown of things like carbohydrates, which is beneficial for us. In terms of our blood pressure, so blood pressure is the pressure that's exerted against our arteries. Blood pressure is controlled in two ways. Those two common ways are how much blood the heart is pumping and how quickly the blood can move through our arteries. If you have higher levels of cholesterol and blood sugar levels, they will actually raise your blood pressure and cause your heart to work a lot harder because those arteries will be clogged and they will become smaller. So then your body has to work a lot harder, which will raise your blood pressure. Next one, so both soluble and insoluble fiber is going to help us maintain healthy bowel movements. And those are very, very important because they'll help with decreasing constipation. So soluble fiber is going to add fluid to our stools, while insoluble fiber will add bulk, and this will help have better movement and faster, more efficient movement so that we don't get constipated. And last thing is satiety, which is a state of being full. So as I mentioned earlier, because fiber helps with decreasing or slowing down the rate of digestion, it will also slow down the rate that your stomach will be emptying food, which will allow you to feel more full, so then you're not going to eat as frequently. So just a fun fact, in terms of how much fiber do you need, women need anywhere from 21 to 25 grams of fiber, and men need anywhere from 30 to 38 grams. That number depends on your age. So as I said, the older you are, the more fiber you do need to consume. And most Canadians are actually only getting half of this much in their diet. So next I'm just going to go over 5 different diseases that can occur if you are not consuming enough fiber. So the first one is diverticula. So this occurs with age, with individuals who are having a low fiber diet. So what diverticula is you get these small pouches in your colon are going to kind of bulge outward into weaker areas of the colon wall. It can lead to inflammation and infection in your abdomen. So an intake of insoluble fiber has actually been seen to lower the risk of this disease by 40%. Next, you have heart disease. So high cholesterol levels and blood pressure are symptoms of heart disease. So as I mentioned earlier, trying to lower these can actually reduce your risk of getting heart disease because your heart doesn't have to work as hard to pump blood and nutrients like oxygen to your body. So having a high consumption of fiber can lower your risk for heart disease by 40%. Type 2 diabetes. So having a low fiber diet or consuming foods that increase your blood sugar levels rapidly, like eating things like white bread or white rice, can actually double the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. And diabetes and the heart disease are going to work together almost. Then we have breast cancer. So it was actually interesting to find research on this one because it found that fiber intake during early adulthood and adolescence can actually lower the risk of getting breast cancer, because you're being able to increase your insulin sensitivity and your blood glucose as well. With breast cancer, it has been found that estrogen can actually increase cancer cell growth. So fiber can actually help to reduce those circulating levels of estrogen to prevent cancer cell growth. And lastly is constipation, which I think is one of the main ones that everyone thinks about when they're not consuming enough fiber in their diet. So again, we want to have both insoluble and soluble fiber in our diet to make sure you have good gut health. And constipation basically is when your stools are moving too slowly through your bowel. So consuming wheat or oat bran is considered to be more effective than just consuming fruit and vegetables if you are constipated, because that is insoluble fiber that will add bulk to your stools. When ideally, we would like our stools to be more sausage-like, soft, and smooth. This will help us keep us regular and just help movement flow a lot easier in our bowels. So just some helpful tips to increase your fiber intake. So we want to try to eat whole fruits instead of fruit juices, just because these are really high in sugar, will increase that blood sugar level. Replace white bread or rice with whole grains. When you are kind of hungry during the midday, try to snack on raw vegetables instead of things like chips. If you can, try to substitute beans or legumes instead of having meat 2 to 3 times a week. This is because meat doesn't actually have any fiber in it. When you are grocery shopping, it's important to try to read the ingredients list while you're shopping for food and choose foods that have whole grains listed at the beginning. And in addition to that, if you cannot pronounce an ingredient on that food label, try your best not to buy it, just because we don't know what that means and what is actually going into our body if we've never heard of the name before. When it comes to increasing our fiber intake, we'd like to do it gradually, just so that we don't have any other abdominal issues like bloating. And ideally, you want to try to aim to get 5 grams of fiber per serving. So here's just a list of different foods you can increase the amount of fiber. So really, again, try to restrict the amount of processed foods you are eating, like those breakfast cereals or granola bars to have more sugar in them and less fiber. So whole grains, whole grain breads, pasta, brown rice. Beans and legumes, so lentils, soybeans, and peas. We have our nuts and seeds, so our flax seeds, our almonds, our chia seeds, pumpkin seeds. And lastly, our fruits and vegetables, so things like raspberries, apples, broccoli, and bell peppers. So in terms of our recipes, both of these ones, the sweet potato pudding and the pizza polenta stuffed peppers, are very high in fiber. These recipes are actually used in our Tasty Tuesday segments that are posted on our Instagram page. We do have hard copies for everyone who's here today to take it home with instructions on how to cook the recipe, but also ingredients that you need if you'd like to try them as well. And if at any point when you're reading the list there's things you want to substitute, by all means go ahead. If you are going to substitute something that has fiber in it, so for example, the stuffed peppers have quinoa in it, which are very high in fiber. If you do not like quinoa, just try to substitute for something like brown rice, just so we're not losing that fiber intake. And then lastly, I just wanted to discuss the 4-week healthy challenge. So it's beginning here on November 8th. It's an activity nutrition challenge to assist in improving your overall fitness and health. With this challenge, you can collect points by setting personal daily and weekly goals. So for example, drinking 8 ounces of water is going to get you some points, or eating, say, 3 servings of vegetables. There are going to be weigh-ins and measurements both at the beginning and at the end of the challenge. This includes having a measurement on the scale, a tape measure to measure different various body parts, or you can take your own progress pictures. There are going to be prizes that are going to be given out for the individuals who get the most amount of points, lose the most amount of inches or weight. If you are interested in participating in this challenge, you can talk to Diana or email her at heartcore@heartniagara.com for more information. Other than that, thank you for joining me today.